so ubiquitous around every corner that there's no denying it. And that in 2012, I really believe that we are going to field a presidential candidate. I don't know if it's going to be Ron Paul. Could be Ron Paul. I don't know who it is. But this time, there's not going to be any pussyfooting around with 9/11 Truth. It's going to be front and center. It's going to be on the agenda. And what we need to do to get there is get everybody to precinct conventions, both sides of the aisle, Democrat, Republican, precinct conventions, 9/11 Truthers, infiltrate all of these groups and get back our republic that way. And then when we go to these conventions, then we're there and we're ready to select presidential candidates of our own choosing.
Yeah, not let the bankers just select who they want. And I always tell people, you catch more flies with honey. So when you're talking to somebody that already has some kind of a different opposing political belief, try to bring them in with something you can agree on. Like you said, the right is more apt to know about the climate gate issue. Talk about the Copenhagen Treaty, talk about the emails and work your way into other aspects of the military industrial complex. And now in Texas, it really does look like we have a shot at a governor who actually believes, get this, folks, in the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Oh, my God. Right. Tell us about Deborah Medina.
I'll tell you. I'm so happy to tell you about that. I'm glad you asked, Jason. Medina4Texas.com. That's the website, Medina4Texas.com. And I got to tell you, this latest public policy poll that came out showing her at 24% really is what's got the powers that be on the attack now. I'm surprised they waited so long, but yes, they are on the attack, and we can look for more attacks against Deborah Medina as this campaign goes forward. But, one thing I like to point out on my show is that we had 1.3 million voters vote independent in 2006, 1.3 million voters. Rick Perry only had 550,000 votes in that 2006 primary, and now he's looking at splitting that 550,000 vote base. He's looking at sharing that to some degree with Kay Bailey Hutchison. Rick Perry may end up with numbers in the 300,000 to 400,000 vote range. Jason, can we really think after all these years of Alex Jones right here in Austin, the hotbed of freedom, not just of Texas, not just of the nation, but of the world, can we really not believe that we've got 1 million patriots in Texas that are ready to hit that black box voting button for Deborah Medina? And I know those people out there. There's got to be 1 million of us ready to pull that and do that.
And I'm encouraging people to remain organized, especially on Election Day, because we know about the fraud with Diebold. We've seen hacking democracy. We've read black box voting by Bev Harris, and we need to keep this election as honest as possible. We need pollsters going after the people as they exit, because we know they've done it in the past where they'll do a 10, a 15, or sometimes an even 20-point swing in the other direction.
That's right. That's right. The voterescue.org, Vicky Karp's group, who her and Karen Rennick, I believe, have been on Alex's show before, and they talk about this issue of black box voting, and it is a very serious issue. As a matter of fact, in 2002, I went to work on a campaign back in 2002 here in Travis County because of that issue. I said, man, I hear Alex talking about black box voting, but man, I'm still having trouble with that. And I saw the two brothers that put the video together. I don't recall their name right off the top of my head, but they put a video together about black box voting. And I thought, man, it's just still hard for me to believe. But I got involved in that election in 2002 here in Travis County, and that made a believer out of me that, yes, black box voting does exist, and there are fraudulent things going on with our voting. But that's where we just, like I say, I need to emphasize that we need to be big enough and bad enough. We need to have the numbers out there that we man every poll, and we do the polling like you're talking about, the exit polls of our own. And voterescue.org, I will be surprised. I'm sure that they're planning on doing something here in this election to help monitor the polls. And I think we can just make it to, and I think there's good people inside the system too. Not everybody's corrupted completely. I think a lot of the times if we can just nail down the vote at the precincts and know those numbers there, then we just follow up the chain of command and try to verify the votes as they go up the chain of command when they bring them into those central locations at the county level. And that's another way to do it. But voterescue.org, those are the folks that are really going to be watching this, and I have full faith in those people like Vicky Karp, Karen Rennick, and their organization in helping watch for the vote fraud.
We have to shine light on the darkness of corruption wherever it may lie. So, we have this election. It's a close election. Deborah Medina is edged out, we have to remain vigilant. I mean, we know in 2004, in the fixed presidential election of second and eighth cousins on both sides, second cousin on one, eighth cousin on the other, both went to Yale together, 2 years apart, both in Skull and Bones.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't mention Skull and Bones.
Oh, no.
Anything about it.
That doesn't exist either. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter.
I can't talk about it.
Yeah, it's so secret I can't talk about it. And you look at that election. Kerry wins the election. Let me repeat that, folks. Kerry wins the election. In fact, in Jesse Ventura, American Conspiracies, he devotes an entire chapter to 2004. And in 2004, in Ohio, they rigged the election. And Jesse Ventura goes into it in this book. You can order it over at Infowars.com right now. I believe we have Alex Jones on the line. Alex.
Hey,
yes, sir.
guys, I'm driving down the highway here listening to you on the new free iPhone app. And, I'll come back over the break briefly, but I did notice last night, Googling just my own name, that they're attacking Deborah Medina all over the place, including Newsweek, using me, saying, oh, look, the king of the 9/11 truthers, the guru of the Tea Parties. They use all these, the prophet of the Tea Party, which is actually overall the truth. I mean, that's on ball, it's me. If you've got to pick somebody out, which I don't actually like, the level of heat, scrutiny, and disinformation and COINTELPRO that we're getting. But the point is, Deborah Medina's never even gotten into that, and that's fine. I've never asked her about 9/11 truth because I know she's a constitutionalist. We need to get her into office. It's a state position, but they're really trying to bring that up. They're going after her on a lot of other issues now. They brought Palin in to endorse Perry over her because they now know that she can really win. They knew that before, but they wanted to ignore her, to not give her attention. I think them attacking her is only going to blow up in their face.
Alex will be right after this.
Our economy is